Joining me now in studio, Javier Manjarres, managing editor of the Shark Tank. And you find that where again, Javier?
Shark-tank.com.
Want to get that website in. Also via Skype, Ari Rabin-Havt, the host of The Agenda and the former advisor to Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. Ari, we thank you for Skyping in, and we thank you for being here, Javier. Javier, you're right here beside me, so I'm going to turn to you first. You hear Paul Ryan with words of kind of retroactive praise for the Bill Clinton presidency. And this comes the same week that Ryan unveils this, quote, anti-poverty plan. Is this trying to position Paul Ryan for a national run in 2016?
First, I think Mr. Reich is impressed by how good he panders to his base. Paul Ryan does. Look, he's obviously positioning himself for a run in 2016, but when you're giving kudos or credit to the Clintons, how does he know that administration would have been better off than it is now? Because remember, Hillary Clinton gave us Hillary Care, which is the same as Obamacare. I don't know where he gets this. I mean, the thing is that you don't know when you have a party that controls all three branches of the government, they're going to do what they want, whether it's Republican or Democrat. Hillary Clinton would have done the same exact thing and imposed her liberal views on the American people as has Obama. So I don't see a difference there. I don't know why he would say something like that.
Well, I guess the point he was trying to make was, hey, Bill Clinton, we could get some work done with Bill Clinton and those guys. This current crowd at the other end of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue has a different take. But let me turn to Ari. Your response to, maybe you're watching with great curiosity and glee what's happening on the right. Your take on what Mr. Ryan had to say.
Well, first, I have to take the words of Bob Reich really seriously. He's my former college professor, so I take his endorsement as a serious thing. I'm glad that Paul Ryan is talking about poverty, frankly. When I read the details, I think there's a lot to be worked out between what he wrote and what actually could become law. For example, his poverty bill accounts for a kind of capping of poverty number of spending, whereas his budget calls for a $3 billion cut, and he's kind of got to square those circles. But I'm glad Republicans want to talk about this issue in a significant way. So in that way, I'm happy Paul Ryan started this conversation.
Well, Ari, you and your former professor, Robert Reich, may have good things to say, but the DNC, perhaps predictably, has something else to say about it. Here's what the press secretary for the Democrat National Committee said. Quote, Paul Ryan's not fooling anyone. How can he claim to be fighting for the poor while year after year he advocates policies that hurt working Americans and those fighting their way up the economic ladder? Actions speak louder than words in Paul Ryan's case. His long track record speaks for itself. So that's the partisan response. And part of what Paul Ryan is talking about is shifting the aid out of the hands of the federal government and to put it in the hands of the state. Another part of the plan calls for stricter work or job training requirements for those who receive aid. It sounds like echoes of what we put together back when I was in Congress in terms of welfare reform that Bill Clinton signed, does it not?
I think it sounds somewhat like echoes, though I do actually think block granting these programs as a group to states is actually a very bad idea policy-wise, and that's kind of where I divide from Paul Ryan. Though I will repeat, I think having the conversation is a good thing, and actually bringing up poverty in this country as a serious issue politically is a good thing. And the fact that Paul Ryan, as you began, in order to make himself serious for some type of national office, feels the need to put out an agenda like this, that to me speaks to a good sign in American politics. Now, I think the policies is where the rubber meets the road, and I have problems with the policies. And look, the DNC, the DNC and the RNC, it's their job to be partisan. So when they're partisan, I expect it. But I would like a broader conversation about these policies, how they'd impact people in poverty, how they would impact our country. And I think it's a good conversation to have, even when I disagree with the specifics.
Well, inevitably, gentlemen, politics always predicates policy. And there's an election coming up in November. We've got the midterms, and then, of course, you're looking ahead to 2016. And Ari, first to you, then we'll get Javier to talk about it. The question about President Obama being an electoral liability comes up. Let's listen to what Senator Lindsey Graham said yesterday on CNN State of the Union. We'll get both of your reactions. Here it comes.
America is the glue that holds the free world together. And when you see us missing our AWOL, as President Obama's been, you see fracturing on multiple fronts. Passive responses to naked aggression all over the world is our foreign policy. Without American leadership, the world gets to be a very dangerous place, and our allies like Israel and Ukraine suffer.
Well, your take first, Ari. What do you make of Lindsey Graham's comments?
I make them to be blatantly political. I think, look at what's going on in Israel right now. Look at the Iron Dome. That a bunch of the funding from the Iron Dome came specifically from Barack Obama's budgets. His foreign policy is not the Lindsey Graham foreign policy of bomb everywhere, and I think most American people are grateful for that.
Javier, let's talk about what's going on here. Is foreign policy going to play a major part in the upcoming midterms?
It already has, and it will continue moving into 2016. Look, our standing in the world has been diminished. We are no longer the top dog in the world. The true president of the free and not so free world is Vladimir Putin. It's not President Barack Obama. We are weaker than we were back in 2007, and it all started November 4th, 2008, when President Obama was elected. We are not respected around the world. We have ISIS, we have other terrorist elements who do not respect us, are not afraid of us. They are emboldened by his actions in foreign policy, and they're doing whatever they want. And look at Vladimir Putin. He's imposing his will on the world, and there's nothing President Obama can do about it.
And to the immediate situation in the Middle East, Javier, in your mind, is Israel suffering because of Mr. Obama's, quote, leading from behind?
They've been suffering, and they're going to continue to suffer. Look, he's called for a ceasefire from Israel. He's going to say, yeah, from both, but look, at the end of the day, he's calling it from Israel. Israel has to do what they have to do on their own, and he's always pushed back on them, and they've always listened to him, and it's gotten them nowhere.
Ari, would you speak, sir, to the notion of the relationship between Israel and the Obama administration?
Look, I think there's been some tension between Barack Obama and Netanyahu. There's no doubt about that, but I think that more relates to the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu is a center-right leader and Barack Obama is a center-left leader. I think in terms of actual connection, when you hear Israeli leaders like Shimon Peres talk, they say the U.S. has been there for us over the past 6 years during the Obama administration. Anything else is just political rhetoric.
Turning back to what is transpiring in terms of political rhetoric, we understand the DNC, or perhaps it's the DCCC, one of the Democratic entities, has sent out emails and fundraising solicitations saying that President Obama could be impeached. Now, we take a look at that. Javier, longtime political consultant on the Republican side, is this a tactic being employed by the Democrats to try and galvanize or mobilize their base for the midterms?
Well, first of all, President Obama has made the case for his impeachment over years of stepping on the Constitution and executive orders. But the Republicans need to stay away from this. This is what they want. The DCCC, the DNC, President Obama, they want this to be the issue. They want to impeach Obama, and it's not going to bode well for Republicans. Even if they were to impeach him, it's going to hurt them in the 2014, especially 2016, because they're going to get these Republican presidential candidates on the record. Do you support impeachment, or would you support it? Whoever's on the record of supporting impeachment is not going to make it.
Ari, to you, I can understand being an old political fundraiser, you have to have conflict and you have to have a leverage to have people donate, but this notion of impeachment, is it something you really take seriously?
Look, this Sunday on Fox News Sunday, I was watching Chris Wallace interview Steve Scalise, and the number 3 Republican in the House, and he said, will you take impeachment off the table? And Congressman Scalise wouldn't answer the question, whereas when he was asked about government shutdown over the budget, he took that off the table immediately. He said no. When asked about impeachment, he kind of dithered and refused to take it off the table. Look, I think it is politics. I think it is right. It's a good issue to raise money on. It's a good issue on both sides to bring out their bases. We'll see what House Republicans do. I don't ever doubt the insanity of certain wings of Congress.
And on that point, we shall leave the discussion. Ari, we thank you for Skyping in from Washington. Javier, as always, good to have you here in studio.
Likewise.
So we have these partisan perspectives. What is your perspective? Why don't you tweet us your comments at NewsmaxTV, #America's Forum. We'll be right back.